Hi, Madeline. This is Marla, and this is your reading for you and Curtis. Today is June 8th, 2017, that I'm recording this. So, tomorrow is the full moon in Sagittarius. And I want to just thank you really quickly for choosing me to get a reading with, and also for being very patient. I know you've had to wait a long time. I'm super backed up these days, and plus, I have a lot going on with my own process, um, this week I've been channeling a lot just for the collective, and those energies have to just come out of me. So sometimes because actually I was planning on doing your reading a few days ago, but then I've started having all these downloads from the universe that I needed to write about and speak about, and so that's why I haven't done your reading until today. So thank you. Okay, so your chart is on the left and his chart is on the right. And normally what I like to do is just talk a little bit about some of the overall themes or the big three in your chart or whatever. Um, like the sun. Everyone knows what their sun sign is, and most people are pretty familiar with what it means to have their sun in a particular sign. So, for example, your sun is in Sagittarius. And let me just say that the sun represents our ego in one aspect, but the sun is also the highest expression of our soul in this incarnation. And we're wanting to use the energy of our sun. The sun is our creative energy. So your sun is in Sagittarius. It's on the 29th degree of Sagittarius. And when we're in the last degree of any sign, like this, we are getting told like this is an important time for you to learn the energy of this Sagittarius sign, because you're going to be moving on to something else after this one. So you're right on the cusp. I'm one of the types of astrologers that I don't really pay too much attention if you're on the cusp or not. To me, if you're in the sign, then you're in the sign. So your sun is in Sagittarius, so you're a Sagittarius. And the full moon we have tomorrow is actually in Sagittarius. And every sign gets a new moon and a full moon every year. So this is your full moon. And it's in your 6th house, so it's going to relate to 6th house issues. Health, healing, food, pets, being of service to the world, daily activities. It's not really touching anything. It's not making contact with any planet in Sagittarius, though. But you'll still feel it. We all still feel all the full moons and new moons. So when I think of Sagittarius, I think of this galactic energy. And for Curtis, what I've done is I've drawn his chart, because we don't have his birth time, for midday. But now the moon moves 12 degrees a day. So it's possible if he was born early in the morning of the 14th that he could have his moon this is probably not. Probably not going to have moon in Scorpio, but I do want to qualify that we don't have birth time. So the moon can shift 6 degrees the other way. And his moon here at midday is at 5 degrees Sag. So if he was born very early in the morning, there might be a chance that he's Scorpio. He's got a Sag moon. So he's also carrying the Sagittarius expression. And to me, Sagittarius is the galactic energies. These are the people that have they're like a lot of times star seeds, or they have a connection to the universe in some way, the universal energies. And Sagittarians are all about freedom and adventure. They rule the ninth house, which is the house of philosophy and our higher ideals and our belief systems, the things that we put our trust in. Sagittarius rules higher education. It rules travel, because Sagittarius has that adventure. It wants to expand. Sag is ruled by Jupiter, right? So very expansive energy. Sagittarians are interested in everything. They're always trying to expand their mind. Even if they can't travel to places physically, they'll often read about places or be interested in places, interested in meeting different people from different cultures, that sort of thing. Of course, it's a fire sign, and the fire signs bring passion and inspiration. And again, those higher ideals and achieving these higher ideals. Fire signs have a lot of passion. They have a lot of drive to go after their desires. And Sagittarius is a mutable sign, which means it goes with the flow. Pretty easygoing. Now, because yours is in your sixth house, this tells me that the sixth house will play an important role in your life. And this is the house of Virgo. And those were the things I mentioned before. Health and healing, food, being of service, taking care of pets, or because Virgo is the sign that represents the harvest. So think about like food and growing crops and animals and pets, and so this is going to be important. Placement for you, having your sun here. This is where you're going to express yourself or where you're going to excel. And it's probably going to be through the means of being of service somehow. And we don't know where we don't know what house his moon is in. We just know it's in Sag because remember, we don't have his birth time. Now his sun is in Aries. Aries is one of the other fire signs, right? Sag, Aries, and Leo. So he's also got a lot of passion, a lot of drive. He's here, he's learning about his individuality. And he's learning how to express himself, how to be himself, how to be an individual. Develop his courage. Aries are the type that are, whenever there's an emergency or there's a chance to be a hero, they run in there head first, and they're symbolized by the ram. And Aries are often, they need those horns because they're often like battering down doors and just going for things. In fact, Aries usually have some kind of scar on their face or on their head. Very headstrong as well. But your sun and his sun are what we call a trine, which is a very harmonious aspect. They're in the same element, which is fire. And they're actually trine not only by sign but by degree. So this makes them extra compatible. You understand each other basically because you're dealing with the same element. Now your moon is in Pisces. 2 degrees of Pisces. Look at that, 2 on the dot. All right, so now we're going into water energy. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, and this is dealing with transcendence and where we transcend this plane of existence, this reality, and we go back to source energy. It rules things that are hidden. Traditionally, Pisces rules places that are hidden, like hospitals, insane asylums, prisons. This is where we try to hide people. Pisces is illusions. Pisces is, like I said, it's transcendence, but there's a fine line between transcending and illusion. All the water signs are very intuitive, meaning you can trust your gut. And they're very sensitive, often empathic. And I would say that with you having your moon in Pisces, that you are empathic. Usually there's a dreamy quality. And I should probably say that the moon represents our emotions, our subconscious, and where we find security. Now it's interesting though, because your moon is in Pisces, but it's also in the 9th house. And the ruler of the 9th house is Sagittarius. So again, you have more of this Sagittarian energy influencing you. So while you have this energy of Pisces, and again, Pisces is about being of service as well. So you may, and Pisces Virgo is the same axis of being of service. That's why I'm saying, because your sun is in the 6th house, you might have to watch for being a martyr or giving too much away of yourself. You could become too attached to your belief systems with your moon in the 9th house, or you could, become, religion or something like that might really appeal to you with the Sag Pisces influence on your moon. So as far as the rising sign go, or the ascendant, we don't know Curtis's because, again, we don't have his birth time, so that's part of the information that I won't have for him, is any of his house placements or ascendant. Of course, the ascendant starts the 1st house, and that's this thick black line here. This is your 1st house, and then the other side is your 7th house. And this is called the ICMC, this one. This represents your 4th and 10th house, or family and public life. So your ascendant is again on the cusp, and it's at 0 degrees of Cancer. So again, you're dealing with water energy. So you are a very intuitive person. In fact, you're much more than that, I think, because I see a mystic rectangle here in your chart. And everyone pretty much that I've known that had a mystic rectangle, I won't say everyone because some people have not developed that skill yet, but I have many friends that are mediums that I do readings for, and they have all had at least one mystic rectangle. So there's a very strong chance that you are a medium. You may or may not have tapped into this yet, but you can certainly develop the skill if you haven't. So I'm going to use my cursor. I'm going to show you where this mystic rectangle is. Okay, a mystic rectangle is 2 sextiles, 2 trines, and 2 oppositions. So here we have your north node at 11 degrees, and it sextiles Uranus at 10 Virgo. And then on this side we have Chiron at 10 Pisces, sextile Mars or South Node and Mars at 1112 Capricorn. Mars in the South Node trine Uranus. Chiron trines your North Node, and then North and South Node are opposite. Chiron, Uranus are opposite. So not only do you have this mystic rectangle, but it's involving very powerful planets and planets that have to do with psychic abilities. The North and South Node, of course, is your destiny. It's the skills and abilities that you're bringing into this life, as well as where you're learning to grow in this life. So you could be bringing in these skills and abilities. Well, of course you are bringing in these skills and abilities from a past life. And then Chiron, opposite Uranus. This also will open up your psychic abilities. It will show that you can activate your Kundalini in this life. You are a natural healer, and you innately understand people's energies or their electrical systems of the body. You could say that. Chiron and the South Node both are points in our chart where we can access multidimensional points, or where we can access our multidimensionality, so where we can travel through the dimensions. Meaning you can see things in the higher dimensions. You can see past lives. You can see spirits that aren't in this dimension or aren't on this plane. So, yeah. And that just goes with the Cancer in your chart, your Cancer ascendant and your Pisces moon. They're supporting this because these are very intuitive placements. Or when we have the water, I have a lot of water in my chart. It increases our intuition, our compassion, our sensitivity, our empathy. So yeah, I'm wondering if you have developed those. If I'd love to hear from you and just let me know how you've experienced the mystic rectangle, or if you have yet. Cancers are homebodies because they rule the fourth house of home. So they really feel secure when they're at home. They like to have their family around them. Again, they're very compassionate. They're nurturing. They are the mother of the zodiac. Cancer is ruled by the moon, which means that your whole chart is ruled by the moon because your rising sign is in Cancer. And when our chart's ruled by the moon, we're probably going to experience a lot of up and down emotions in our life, or moodiness. This is what Cancer is known for, a lot, moodiness. And that's because of their moon rulership. And the moon changes signs every 2 days, like I mentioned. Every 2.5 days it switches signs. It switches from full to new and back again. And so the moon is very changeable. And Cancer is very changeable because of that, especially when it rules your chart. When the moon changes its sign or its phase, it's going to affect you. You also have your North Node in Cancer, which I'm going to talk about later. So, yeah, you probably want to pay attention to the moons. And you may, like for me, when there's a full moon, I usually don't sleep that well. I usually wake up a lot or can't sleep or can't fall asleep, for example. I'm a Cancer Sun and Mercury Mars. And so, yeah, I feel the moon phases too. All right, so that's a little bit about the big three of your personality. I'm going to just talk quickly about what I see in your chart that maybe is going to affect how you are in relationships, or what life lessons you have that could affect how you are in relationships. Now for you, you have all your planets on the right-hand side of your chart. Well, not all, but you have most of them here on the right-hand side. This means, or usually this shows that your life is going to be, it's going to be, what is the word I'm looking for? Like usually circumstances happen to you. Like you don't have to push too hard, but things more or less come across you and shift you and lead you where you need to go. Rather than people that have all their planets on the other side tend to have to push and fight for things or really go after things. You also have your nodes quite close to your ascendant descendant. It's a little bit wide. I usually use like a I would maybe use like a 10-degree orb here, and yours is at like 11. But they do run alongside your ascendant descendant, which also again shows that your life is a bit fated. And you're also dealing with these two quadrants here, the second and third quadrant, and these have to do with relationships. So your life will be more based on what you can achieve through relationships. You need people to work with you to get things done, for example. But you also have a good ability to deal with people and understand people. All right. You know, you don't have any air in your chart either. Oh, I'm sorry, you have Saturn. You have Saturn is the only major planet you have in air, and Curtis has no major planets in air. So air is important because air is how we communicate. It's our thoughts and how we express our thoughts. So without having a lot of planets in air, you both might find that you have difficulty speaking up for yourselves, or you have difficult communicating. Like you may not feel comfortable talking to people or giving people a lot of information about yourself, or even just it's 4:44 on the clock right now too, so the angels are here with us. So angels, can you please help me? Give me the words that I'm thinking of. Yeah, you just may not be good at communicating, expressing your feelings. And let's take a look at your charts and see what other things contribute to that, or if there is anything else. All right, well, your sun does not make a lot of aspects. Has a sextile to the moon, and really that's it. That's the only major aspect. A semi-sextile to Venus, and a semi-square to Neptune. Well, that Neptune could be giving you some empathy as well. Could make it difficult for you to set boundaries. And the Venus Sun kind of would do that too. Venus semi-sextile Sun would just make you like a very easygoing person, and sometimes too easygoing. Like you have difficulty asserting yourself, or like being popular, or I should say being liked is very important to you. With the sun and the moon sextile, this shows me that your sun and the moon are working together. All right, well, I see here you have moon opposite Uranus, and that's the only major aspect to your moon. So this is going to play a role in how you are in relationships, I think, Madeline, because usually when these two planets come together, it's a difficult placement because remember the moon is where we want to find security, but Uranus offers no security. Uranus is sudden changes and sudden realizations. Of course, these two planets are going to really play into your psychic abilities because you're going to have that sudden flash of insight. You're going to have that knowing, that clairsentience. Actually, it's claircognizance. But the negative about Moon Uranus is that the moon can get triggered easily. Remember, Uranus is sudden changes. So I've seen this a lot with this placement. The moon is going along, and then someone comes up, and if someone is, if the moon person senses someone is going to reject them, if the other person is not responding to them, if the other person maybe dislikes them or is going to reject them in some way, the moon person gets really sensitive and shuts down the other person before they have a chance. Like very sensitive to criticism and sensitive to rejection. That's what I see with Moon Uranus. So, for example, Curtis, he might come along and he might say like, I don't know. Might question something that you say, and you may feel rejected. So you will react very strongly, and maybe you won't talk to him for a month, for example. Just cut them off before they can hurt you. It's really a very strong survival or sense of protection aspect, where you feel you have to be defensive. But the moon in aspect to Uranus can also give the moon person a sense of freedom. For example, you probably aren't going to like to be in a relationship where your freedom is taken away from you. You don't have a lot of aspects to your Venus either. You have a conjunction with Mercury and a quintile with Jupiter, Neptune, and a sesquiquadrate. I don't really worry too much about these minor aspects. And Venus, Mercury, this is just like being a friendly person. I would say, though, with the quintiles to Neptune and Jupiter, I feel like you're a very creative person. Yeah, a very creative person. And with those quintiles, I think they can give you like the I wish I could speak properly today. I'm sorry. Again, the energies are really high this month. Not always easy to focus when the energy is so high. And like I said, I'm a Cancer too, so the full moon is going to mess with me. Venus, quintile, Jupiter. Again, you're going to be a person that's very easygoing and want to be liked. So you may find in that sense you have difficulty setting boundaries. Same thing with Venus, quintile, Neptune. Because this again is having to do with empathy and looking to transcend through love, looking for a divine partnership, looking for that deep, unconditional kind of love. It also helps you learn how to love unconditionally. your Mercury is very, very strong. It makes a lot of aspects and very creative, very expansive mind. You have Mars conjunct Mercury, so you may actually you may speak what's on your mind. Mars Mercury is someone that just says it like it is. And when you have all that Sagittarian energy, you're definitely someone that tells it like it is. But you also have a good ability to research things, to stick with things, to spin things. Um, you can make things sound good, even if they're not. You know what I mean? You make a great salesperson because you have this great ability to talk to people. There really isn't a lot of life lessons I see for you around like um, your planetary aspects are pretty good. Now for Curtis. I'm just going to say you have Venus and Capricorn in the 8th house. Well, Venus in Capricorn is very reserved. Not given to like public displays of affection, for example, and likely has trouble expressing her love. And we talked about the issue of communicating. Well, I would say that um, you might have trouble, like I said, expressing your love or showing you love, showing emotions around love. But your Venus is in the 8th house, and that's the house of soulmates and of sexuality. So there is this strong drive and desire to have that really deep, intense relationship. But on the other hand, maybe a bit afraid of it or afraid of having to express yourself. So that's another thing that might come up for you in relationships. Okay. He needs a lot of freedom as well. His moon is in Sag, his sun's in Aries. He's got aspects from his sun to Jupiter, Uranus, and Pluto. This is someone that likes being free. I would think maybe even a commitment phobic, but you said he's in a relationship, so then we know he's not. But again, a lot of drive and just liking to do what they want to do because they need a lot of adventure and they get bored just sitting around. He does have Sun square Saturn though, which usually comes through as not believing in oneself. And, he's got a lot of fire energy, so at times it may be difficult to believe that he feels that way about himself. He might hide it, but it's still there. Feeling insecure about being valued and about having worth, having self-worth. got Sun trine Pluto and Moon square Pluto. So there may have been some issues in his family growing up. He might have been secrets or something in his house. He's someone that's going to go through many transformations with a strong Pluto like that. Let me just see where these are. Usually when we have strong Pluto like this too, we're dealing with power and control issues. And this is very often coming from a past life where we didn't perhaps stand in our power or we misused power in some way. And then it comes back for a lesson for us on how to understand to use our power in the correct way. But until then, he may give his power away a lot. I may have a difficult time being assertive. And he's got Mars opposite Pluto as well. So yeah, I would say definitely difficulty being assertive because Pluto's where we hide things, or it's where we bury things, maybe a better term. So things we don't want to see about ourselves, we bury that in Scorpio. That's the sign that Pluto rules. And Mars is our anger and our aggression. So when Mars and Pluto are aspecting, very often the person buries their anger or buries their feelings, and eventually they explode. They have a hard time expressing that, which can be troublesome. And both of those planets are square as Moon. So I'm thinking, yes, he has a very difficult time expressing himself, expressing his emotions, his feelings, and his anger. And he hides it and tries to ignore it until he explodes. Be useful to know what houses these were, but we can't know that right now. He might have had a hard time with his mother. His mother might have been a bit difficult, maybe a bit of a bully or controlling in some way. Perhaps even abusive, like that would be extreme. It can be sexual repression as well with Pluto and Mars. Or feeling like one has to challenge themselves with crisis all the time. Although that's one of the gifts that he has, I would say, with the Pluto aspects, as he confronts his inner shadow. And he'll have to confront his inner shadow at some point with aspects to his sun and his moon like this. But, because he's destined to understand transformation in his life, which means going within, which means letting go. Pluto's the planet of letting go. So when we have Plutonian aspects, we're having to learn lessons about letting go. All right, where was I going with this? Right, so he's got to confront himself many times in this life. As he learns to confront himself, he's learning to accept his shadow side. And by him accepting this, it in turn helps the collective embrace their own shadow. But he's very good at understanding other people's shadows and dealing with crisis, and he likely has a gift for kind of helping people He may even be like a police officer or a firefighter, um, a psychologist. This would be the kind of job I could picture him in with the energy in his chart. A doctor would be another thing, or a paramedic, a soldier, someone who's dealing with a lot of crisis and life and death situations. This would be, he's got the energy of a person that would kind of get off on that, the challenge of it. But yeah, he can help people understand their crisis in life and assist them through it. And he's got, with these aspects, a natural ability to help people. Pluto and Mars are the masculine energy as well. So he can have a lot of intensity about him as well, a lot of sexual energy. Whether he might not be aware of it, but there might be that sexual intensity about him. For Venus, okay, he's got Venus trine Moon, square Jupiter, in conjunct Neptune and Pisces and Pluto. So he's a people pleaser. He's much more of a people pleaser, I think, than you are, and likely to go along with people just to make them happy. Again, maybe not wanting to assert himself. Sometimes lacking boundaries is possible too. Because with the Venus square Jupiter, this is a person that wants to be liked. And Venus Moon too. Someone that wants people to like them. And who doesn't want people to like them? We all do, but knowing that we have to set boundaries in a healthy way. But that might be a lesson that he's here to learn. So like if he's with a karmic partner, he may find it difficult to assert himself in that relationship because that's not his nature. He's more easygoing. He doesn't want to make waves. He doesn't want to make people uncomfortable. And he's got a lot of Pluto. He's got Venus Pluto as well as Moon Pluto. He has a hard time letting go and perhaps having a hard time changing. And Venus Pluto, when those planets come together, there can be a tendency to believe that love hurts. And so being in a relationship that's not healthy or is past its prime may be difficult for them to realize because they just naturally think that love is hurtful or painful. Like I said, letting go is hard. They get attached. With Venus, Neptune, there's empathy there as well. And being empathic also makes it difficult to be assertive and to set boundaries with people. All right, so there's some things you might want to know about yourself and about him. Let's talk about your nodes. So your North Node is in Cancer in the first house, and your South Node is in Capricorn in the 7th house. We get some information from the sign and we get some information from the house, so they're both important. So with your North Node being in Cancer, um, remember the North Node is where we're learning and growing in this life, and the South Node is the energy that we came from previously, or where we've had past lessons. And so we take the good skills that we developed in those past lives and we bring them in and use them in this life, and we try to let go of the things that no longer serve us. So with the Cancer Capricorn, you're wanting to become more emotional. Well, I should say accept your emotions. Because I kind of touched on this a little bit with your Venus, but Capricorn is a sign that's not known for showing its emotions. It's ruled by Saturn, which is a rather cold, non-emotional planet. Saturn is very achievement focused. Capricorn rules the 10th house. This is our public life and our social status. So when we have a South Node in Capricorn, we usually have lives where we developed a trait of not expressing our emotions, disconnecting ourselves from our emotions. So now in this life, with your North Node in moody, sensitive Cancer, you're here to develop that emotional expression and develop a sense of vulnerability. Because the Capricorn is a sign that does not like vulnerability. And Capricorns, you may find this true about yourself because you have Venus and Mars there. Capricorns, they don't usually make the first move, or they often don't make the first move, or they really need to know that the other person likes them before they're willing to move forward, because they do not like being vulnerable and they do not like being rejected. Where Cancer, on the other hand, is, it represents the mother, and on some level it represents, the infant too. And, it's ruled by the moon, so it's like our emotions are there. Cancers are known for being vulnerable. So what's really being asked of you is that you develop that balance in your vulnerability and know when to express your emotions and when that's not necessary. What I'm trying to say is not being overly emotional, finding that right balance. Capricorn is a sign that's very logical too. So you're coming in from a past life where logic heavily influenced you. But Cancer is a very intuitive, psychic sign. So with Cancer, you want to trust your gut. You want to let go of not believing in things that you don't have the knowledge to back up. Because like I said, you got this mystic rectangle. You got a lot of psychic abilities here in your chart. But do you trust yourself? Do you trust your gut, or do you try to ignore it? It's another thing you want to balance with your Cancer Capricorn axis. Cancer is their home and family life. Capricorn's your status in the world. What do you do for your career? What do you show to the community? That's your Capricorn. So Capricorn's being in the public eye. Cancer's being at home in your private life, like secluded. So you're needing to find balance with that too. In a past life, you were very focused on your public status, maybe to the detriment of your family. And so now in this life, there's a bigger focus placed on home and family relationships and spending more time at home, spending more time in private than being in public. Now it's also in the 1st and 7th house. This is the house of Aries and Libra. So with North Node in the 1st house, you are here to develop your personal identity. Aries, and your twin has his sun in Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's, I think of it as the baby. of the zodiac because it's the first one. This is where we're just manifesting into the world, where we're just coming in. And so it's all about discovering who we are. It's about the self, and it's about developing courage. Your South Node is in Libra. This is saying that in a past life, you had a bigger focus on relationships than you did on yourself. And you might have lacked good boundaries with those relationships. You might have sacrificed your personal identity for the benefit of others. And you maybe had to do a lot of diplomatic work or be very diplomatic in your dealings with people. And again, sacrificing your personal identities for what is best for your partner. And it doesn't have to be a relationship partner. It could be any partner. Now in this life, the answer to that is no. It's about you discovering who you are. Not surrendering your desire, but knowing how to be assertive. Let's see, Curtis has his North Node in Virgo, South Node in Pisces. Well, like I said earlier, this is the axis of service. Both signs like to be of service in some way. Virgo is that grounded energy. It's much more focused on down-to-earth matters, and it's focused on our day-to-day activities and what we need to do to be successful and what we need to do to achieve things. And not having our heads up in the clouds all the time, which is Pisces. Pisces is that mystic, that intuitive, that transcendence. It doesn't want to be grounded. It wants to reunite with the divine. It wants to lose itself in the other. It wants to go back to that collective consciousness. It doesn't want to focus on the everyday mundane tasks that Virgo is forced to focus on. He may have actually, in another incarnation, he may have spent time in one of those hidden places, maybe an extended period in a hospital. I see with people that have South Node in Pisces, they may have some way had their power taken away from them. They might have been a prisoner, or they might have been, for example, my twin, I know, was a prisoner of war. And so, basically being a prisoner and having your rights taken away and having to surrender everything. That's the energy of Pisces. Surrender. Surrender to the sea of consciousness, to unity, to all are one. But now in this life, he's focusing more on those mundane things. I have my own nodes in the opposite. I have my North Node in Pisces, my South Node in Virgo. And I use being an astrologer as a good way to explain the energy of Virgo and Pisces, because I'm using both my Virgo and Pisces gifts. Sort of in a my North Node is in Pisces in Virgo's house, the 6th house, and my South Node is in Virgo in the 12th house, which is the house of Pisces. So I'm really getting that Pisces Virgo energy. So it helps me be an astrologer because I have that grounding and scientific mathematical basis from my Virgo placements, but yet my Pisces placements give me the intuition to be able to read the chart without being overly, there's an intuitive component to this as well. Anyone can just sit down and learn the aspects, memorize what the planets mean, but it takes intuition to put everything together and paint a bigger picture. Let me draw some past life oracle cards for you guys. All right, well, we've got the cards transportation, medicine man or woman, karmic relationship, and spouse. Okay, these are good cards. Well, the medicine man or woman, I already talked about this with you, and you are a natural healer. Not just a medium, but I feel like you have natural healing abilities. And it's no surprise to me if I were to learn that you were a medicine woman in a past life. In fact, I fully believe that. And you still have those skills within you. Could also pertain to him as well, but without having the house placements, it's a little bit trickier for me to recognize that energy. But you both have Chiron and Pisces. And Chiron and Pisces is the mystic. It's that energy of seeing the bigger vision, being connected to the other side. This card, karmic relationship, this is actually one of the cards that clues me in that someone might be a twin flame, because I'm going to read what the card says. There is no card for anything like a twin flame in here, but the karmic relationship card is very close to the meaning of that. This card indicates that one or more people in your current life are from previous lifetimes. You both ended your relationships with karmic imbalance. This means both of you are most likely harboring old feelings that need to be healed and released. When this occurs, it will be set free from recurring destructive and toxic relationship patterns. In some cases, this card will arise when there's a reunion with a beloved soul from a previous life. Perhaps you finally connected with a romantic partner from your past, or a new friendship is bringing you great joy. With healthy past life connections, you'll immediately feel a sense of comfort and familiarity. You receive this card in answer to a question or concern that involves a karmic relationship. You can appeal to heaven for help in releasing the old. The reason why I say it speaks to me about being a twin is because it talks about reunion with a beloved soul that you've had many previous incarnations with. We also have the card spouse. Okay, this is another one. I'm going to read you what this card says too. I mean, it does talk about your current spouse could be this person, but I'm feeling like I asked about your relationship, okay? It says lovers reunite across centuries and share an undying bond of true love. This is what is usually referred to as a soulmate. So drawing this card can signify that the person you're inquiring about is, in fact, that individual. I think to get both of these cards is very strong, Madeline, to kind of let you know that you have a deep connection with each other. And maybe you need that confirmation today because you are having a hard time. We also have the card transportation, which speaks to me about having had to deal with separations in the past. I need to pull up this chart. Well, let's do this first. This is your combined chart. You're on the inside and his chart's on the outside. And he brings his north node to your fourth house. This is the house of home and family. It's in Virgo in your chart, but traditionally it's Cancer's house. And you know that you have your north node in Cancer. So he is helping you develop some of your fourth house identity that you need to as part of your north node. So when someone brings their north node to this house, they're helping you build a foundation to your life because the fourth house is the foundation of your chart. They're helping you with your home and family life, and they may help you with the relationship with like your mother and father or your brother and sister or something like that. They may even be like good at helping you with real estate. He's there to help you learn how to nurture too. And that might be difficult for you with some of that Capricorn energy, although it is in the seventh house, which is Libra, which is about partnerships. But yeah, helping you learn your ability to nurture it and also to be vulnerable. And I definitely feel that's true because someone that we have as a twin flame is going to trigger us to be vulnerable. And I feel like that's something that's not easy for you, but he's helping you with that soul work that you're doing. The fourth house is our security too, because it's ruled by the moon, and the moon represents our security, but also it's at the bottom of our chart. So it's where we need to feel secure. And I feel like with that placement, he will help you feel secure or find security in your life. Let's look at some of the aspects in your chart. I'm getting on now. I think I've been here an hour, so I need to talk faster. Something I see right off the bat that I really like is this. This is your moon, and this is his Chiron. They form a tight conjunction. This is an aspect that I like because I think it brings healing. Especially because it's in Pisces, I feel. Remember, Chiron is our soul wound that we carry from incarnation to incarnation. So it's like his wound. I actually feel this works both ways, though. Because the moon is where we can have the subconscious, we bury our subconscious wounds, you know? To help each other go to that deep place and heal each other. Now, his Mars conjunct your Chiron over here, which maybe is not the greatest aspect, because at some level, I feel his energy can trigger your soul wound. But again, on some level, that's his job. You have Venus-Jupiter conjunction, which is another really good one. Because Venus and Jupiter are the most benefic planets. They both bring positive things into your life. Venus brings love, Jupiter brings abundance. Venus also brings financial gains. So when these two come together, you have you're expanding those things. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. So when he hits Venus, Venus is your planet of love, brings a lot of love. And it brings an easy feeling to the relationship and a lot of compatibility, like just feeling at ease with each other and enjoying each other's company. His asteroid Juno conjuncts your sun. Juno is the planet of partnerships. So that is a great aspect to have. He brings Jupiter, Vesta, and Saturn to your 7th house of partnerships. Well, the Jupiter and the Vesta are good for attraction, compatibility, and for sexual connection. But then we also have Saturn there. And what that could mean is that there could be lessons around the relationship for you, and likely that there are karmic blocks, or you could just call them blocks from the universe, that kind of make it difficult for you to come together in partnership until you completed your karmic lessons, which would be healing your wounds. This Saturn is also conjunct your Mercury, so there might be difficulty communicating between the two of you. Bear with me just a second. I gotta pull up my other chart. Normally I print this off, but my printer is not working today. I swear it's like Mercury retrograde today or this week, because I'm having problems with all my electronics. Okay. Well, I talked about your suns being trine, but your moons are square. Again, they're both in the same element. They're both mutable. Well, actually, that's mode, not element. So you do have that ability to change. But where the Sag moon likes freedom, the Pisces moon likes more of a connection. Squares are quite common in these types of relationships and nothing to worry about. It's better to have the planets in square than not aspecting each other at all. It just means you have to find balance. There's Venus square Sun double whammies. Well, Venus, like I said, is a very good planet to have. It brings a lot of compassion and compatibility. But there are squares, so there might be some things that arise that you maybe have a little bit difference of opinion about. Could have something to do with money or how you spend money or something like that. Again, because Venus is such a good planet, I wouldn't really worry about it. But I'm just pointing it out just so you know that energy is there if it comes up. The Jupiter conjunct Sun, which is another great aspect. Like I said, Jupiter expands anything it touches. It's one of those very supportive aspects, and where he can help you or support you through achieving your goals. Your Saturn sextiles his Sun. Well, this is showing some kind of karmic debt. You might feel a little bit restricted by him. He might view you as being slightly restrictive at times. It's only a sextile, so it's a harmonious aspect, and I wouldn't think that you would feel it that strongly. His Pluto trines your Sun, so that's a very transformative relationship for you. You've got Moon conjunct Mars, which is a really intense aspect, highly sexual, brings a strong degree of attraction between the two of you. The one kind of caveat with that one is you're dealing with the Moon, which is a very sensitive place seeking security, and Mars, which is the masculine aggressive energy. So the Mars person can sometimes come across as too aggressive to the Moon person, and the Moon person can seem too soft to the Mars person. So that can bring up a little bit of conflict. But again, it's one of those things that you can work out. You got Moon trine Neptune and Moon square Uranus, as well as Moon opposed Pluto and Moon square Pluto. This speaks of telepathy to me. Strong telepathic connection, or being able to tune into each other's energies. You've got Venus square Mars, which is the quintessential soulmate aspect. And Venus conjunct Saturn. And remember, Saturn's karmic in nature, so whatever Saturn touches has its roots in the past somewhere. And Saturn is also our life path. So when he comes together with Venus, this is one that I actually like. And it represents that connection that spans time, and it's also one that starts slowly and develops over time. This I feel is especially true for you because his Saturn falls into your 7th house. So, and I think that you've known each other for a while. It's a relationship that develops slowly, but it builds a really strong foundation beneath it. So that when you do come together, there's really no question. But it's, like I said, one that develops over a period of time. It's not one that you rush into and then burns itself out quickly. Venus, Saturn gives a lot of staying power. You have Venus biquintile Pluto, that would also come across as like intense sexual attraction, and that one can be representing a soulmate aspect as well, or a soulmate connection. Bear with me, I'm just looking at the chart here. There's that Mars Saturn that I was talking about, that karmic connection, or I don't want to say connection. It's like a karmic block. It's like you want to put your foot on the gas, but the other person has their foot on the brake. And it's really through the universal energies. It's not anything that you are each doing. But like I said, this is not uncommon for twin flames and divine partners to have this, because it's a relationship that develops slowly. And often the like sexual component of the relationship is off limits for whatever reason. Probably because of the life lessons that need to be learned. So the universe on some level kind of prevents that from happening. Before its time, I should say. All right, his Venus squares your node, so I'm definitely seeing that that's a past life connection that you had, one from the past that's coming in to this life. Got Mars aspecting the nodes as well. I see this one as him kind of supporting you and helping you in your drive to achieve something, or to achieve your, your goal on your life path. Vesta conjunct the South Node. That could be one pointing to twin flames. And just so you know, Madeline, I don't confirm twin flames through astrology. It's very difficult, and I would say impossible to really confirm twins 100% through astrology. But we can see the energy connections there. Vesta is a planet that represents the sacred sexual energies, and I see Vesta has the asteroid that oversees twin flames. Because of that, it's also about devotion and being of service as well as the purification process, all things that pertain to twins. So this is showing there's some past life connection there. His asteroid Excalibur conjuncts your North Node, and Excalibur can be our mission in life, or it can be our quest. He's got Sun square your nodes as well. It's actually your Sun that squares his nodes. So similar to Venus, this is a person from the past that's coming back through this life. Your Venus also aspects his nodes, and that has to do with a past life love. Your Vesta squares his nodes, so that means you have Vesta nodes double whammy, or you have it both ways. So that's also a strong indication. You've got Atlantis oppose Saturn, and Atlantis square Saturn. Well, I definitely would see that as a past life connection through Atlantis. Saturn, remember, has to do with our karma, and it also has a connection to past lives, and it has a connection to time. His asteroid Akashi, which stands for the Akashic Records, conjuncts your North Node. Again, to me, that's like the past, because the Akashic Records, that holds all our incarnation information. And it's touching your South Node, or North Node. So it's showing a connection there from past lives. Sorry, I'm just tuning in here to the energies. You know, I feel like you both have some fears to release, and you both have some, we could say karmic, but there's situations. I mean, when we know that he's got a karmic partner, but what is it that you need to release from the past, Madeline? You know, we have to reach a certain place in our own development before that triggers our twin. So what is holding you back from reaching that place of, well, it's like we have to detach and we have to balance our energy at the same time. I'm seeing that right now your abandonment wound is being triggered by him, and that's why you're going through such a hard time. And you're needing to release that abandonment wound. Now, abandonment is one of those things that it takes a long time to release. This is really the core wound for almost every single one of us. And we got that card transportation in the reading. Probably showing that you might have been abandoned by him in a past life, as well as, you know, you got a lot of Cancer and fourth house placements as well. So it could be abandonment from your family too. So, yeah, it's not something that's easy to shed, but you'll be so proud of yourself when you do it. And abandonment is one of those things that has to come off in layers. You can't get rid of it very quickly because it's so painful. But I feel like the universe is trying to get you to let go of it right now because of this shift that we're going through and everyone moving up a level and wanting to detach. I'm just pulling a couple cards here for you. All right, well, I asked what Curtis's feelings were for you, and I got The Emperor, the Six of Wands, and the Lovers card. So that kind of says it all right there. You make him feel strong and powerful. You make him feel like a knight in shining armor. And there's a strong love for you there. You know, on some level, on a lot of levels, really, our twin fears us. You know, they haven't really come into their balance and power yet because they're waiting for you to come into your balance and power. If you haven't been on Facebook today, I did post 2 articles on my Facebook page, Twinstrology, that might be helpful to you at this time about why we need to detach and find our power, and it's because through that we're going to trigger them to find their own power. We can't always blame the masculine because their situation is really dependent on us and our development. And it's taken us a while to get to the place of development where we're at. Definitely nice for you to get the Six of Wands and the Lovers card, though. All right, I pulled some Romance Angels cards too, asking about his feelings for you. First card I got was pay attention to the red flags. All right, this is telling me that he's getting signs and synchronicities about you. Healing family issues. Your love life benefits as you forgive your parents. Okay, so some of the things that he's doing with this karmic partner are healing things. Look at family issues encompasses a lot of stuff. So there's still some healing work to be done there, and there's still healing work to be done within himself, which I'm sure you know. And I also got the card Deception. Someone is wearing a false self mask in this relationship. Well, this card comes up a lot when I'm reading for twin flames. Deception, because the masculine twin is not being their true authentic selves with us right now. Most of them are pretty much lying a lot of the time, so we can't really trust what they're saying. Makes it hard, okay? It does, because it messes with our head, because we know in our heart that they don't mean what they say. But this is all so you can find yourself. And when you find yourself, and you detach from him, that's when he's going to go through his process and he'll find his way back. So I hope you enjoyed this reading, Madeline. I hope it gave you some insight into your relationship and what's going on. Sending you a whole lot of love. We'll get through this full moon. This is such a big release for everybody right now too. Releasing old karmic stuff. So, well, we do that a lot. It's such a process. But we are getting there. We are finding ourselves and we are achieving our freedom. So thank you so much, and I hope I can work with you again in the past. If you have a few moments, I love for people to drop me a line back and just let me know if they like the reading or not, or if it resonated with them. I can't always answer everyone back just because I'm so inundated with messages and things, especially right now, as so many people are having a hard time. But I do read everything. All right, dear, thank you, and I'll speak to you soon.